welcome to Lead Live, reminding you of your personal genius and how you think in order to actualize what you desire.
Greetings. I'm reminded of Dr. Maya Angelou's statement. In the flush of love's light, we dare be brave. And suddenly we see that love cost all we are and will ever be. Yet it is only love which sets us free. Wow. Simple, elegant, insightful, clearly well-lived words. Power of love. So today's topic is powerful four-letter word, L-O-V-E, love. What is love? I'm sure you have a lot of ways to describe it. An intense feeling like we have for children, the kind of feeling that would cause a mother, and this happened many years ago and may have happened many times throughout human history, that caused a mother to go run and pick up a vehicle in order to save her child. Yes, that's happened. Incredible and incredulous as that sounds, that love gave her the kind of strength that took her to a place that even she didn't know she could go. Love, intense, intense, intense care, appreciation, a great interest and pleasure in something. Some people say, I just love sports. I love dancing. It's intense, and they have to do it in order to breathe. I love creating. They've got to create that magnificent sculpture. They've got to create that magnificent program that we're using now. We don't even know what it is. It's embedded behind so much that has led to the software that we use, the internet that we use. There's a love for doing things. It's a supreme kind of agape love. Not kind of, but agape love. We call it the God source, the Great Spirit. It doesn't matter what religious perspective you have, philosophical perspective you have. Literally, I don't know that there's anyone on the planet that does not believe in some kind of love. I am very biased. I believe the essence of who we are is unconditional love. In fact, years before Dr. Maya Angelou transitioned from this plane of existence, she said that's really all it is. And so many other folks before, now, and even after us will remind us that the essence of what we strive towards in that greatness and that genius, that perfection or whatever, is really that experience of powerful, deep level of love I call unconditional love. And the unconditional love is just that. You give it, we give it, I give it because we can. We do not expect anything in return. And yet those of us in the know, independent of our educational background, independent of our even lived experiences, some of us intuitively know. We know that we know that we know. When we give, the universe naturally gives back to us in abundance. It doesn't even matter if we don't want it. And the power, though, with unconditional love is also receiving. And too many of us shy away from the gifts that the universe wants to give to us. And we're like, well, why do you want to give that to me? I don't need it. No. I just did it freely. Well, when the universe wants to give, receive it. That's a way of honoring the fact that you are inherently a giver. We have to balance what life is about. Now, I'm sure I'm biased in that regards because of my people say, well, you're a Libra, so of course you believe in balance. I'd like to believe that because I understand of my connection to all that there is, that exists in this plane of existence and other planes of existence, that I understand fundamentally it's all about balance. It's all about consciousness first, our thought. I was talking to a dear one and who is my coach. And he said so simply and in his own brilliant way, said, what we think, we've got to act on. And then when we act on it, we've got to feel it and feel it at a deep level. But we know we've heard that throughout time, and too often we dismiss it. What we think, we've got to act on. If we think a thing that's important to us, we want to create, we've got to act on it. And quite frankly, if it's not acted on as part of our daily habits, it won't be powerful enough to override or to trump the subconscious that drives the essence of who we are. Now, you've heard that from me and others on this Lead Live many times. And we thank you for joining us here with Lead Live. For those of you who are new, LEAD stands for Leadership Excellence and Achievement on Demand. And why? We fundamentally believe that every one of us benefits from being the CEO of our lives. When we lead by example, with our own particular vision, that is the basis of which we're driven in any particular direction or all the directions that we're driven to go. We operationalize that in terms of a working vision. And then we further operationalize that in terms of a plan we call a basic strategy or a strategic plan. And then we further operationalize it by acting. But we act, but we got to feel it. And if we don't feel it, it doesn't matter, nothing's going to shift. When we feel it, and we feel it at a deep emotional level, it becomes a burning desire, oh my God, get out the way. Nothing will stop you. And that includes the power of love. That example I gave of that mother who picked up a vehicle, otherwise would say it's humanly impossible for this woman to pick up that weight. She did it because of the intensity, the power of that love she had. So love really knows no bounds. What we want to talk about today is not just what's love from our perspective. We want to talk about, as Jet just shared, Jet's in the background. He's a remarkable young man finishing college, and I have the honor to work with him. When I asked him about love, he said it motivates us. That's the power of love. He also said it gives us joy and happiness. I want you to remember motivation. I want you to remember joy and happiness, because that inspired me to remind me that literally, what is love? It's a constant act of creation. It allows us to create in ways that we can't even imagine. I've got art throughout this studio. I've got art throughout my place, and I'm inspired every day because I've got a piece of different individuals from across the planet, from as far away as China, as well as Africa, and certainly throughout the Western region of the world, literally who create it. I get to experience it every single day. So it inspires us to create, to give, and to sustain that effort, all the way through creating again, creating anew. What greatness is inspired by love? You already heard one example. A mother's love knows no bounds. But what if we move beyond just a parent or friend or family or even the loved community, and we go to our places of work, whether they're our own businesses because we're entrepreneurs, or we built the business and now we're leading major businesses that don't need us to be present because we've got these remarkable people in them, or we're in those businesses as employees, as professionals, making a difference, whether we're there as frontline employees leading with distinction, or we're on a board making a difference there. What would love look like if the culture was based on unconditional love? Let's be clear. I'm not talking about doing anything that harms anyone in the environment. So whatever imaginings that take you there, tell them they have no place. I am speaking specifically about honoring every individual, respecting every individual, and literally seeing the embedded assets of every person, not just human capital in the broadest sense of you've got this technical skills, it's going to allow us to have you built this widget and then we can sell it and then we make more profits. I understand the business model. I'm not talking about just that. I'm talking about something that is inspired, that's much more profound than that. So, what am I talking about? I'm talking about an unwavering, an unbreakable, an unparalleled fondness and devotion to everyone who makes up the organization and embedding that into the system of the or systems of the organization, into the practices of the organization, whether it's in terms of meetings, how you run meetings, how you schedule, how you even organize meetings, whether it is in terms of delivery of assets by the individual employees, by the leaders who are working with the individual employees, ensuring that they're able to lead at their level. I'm talking about every aspect of an organization being established based upon the organization's understanding of unconditional love. And how do you get that understanding? You don't just get it because it's an individual's feeling, well, I believe it's X. And I don't think we can have X in the workplace. No, you back up a little bit, you humble yourself. If you can, you leave the ego in the shower, or you leave it in another room and you walk into the room with colleagues, all your employees, to whatever degree possible, and you ask them, what does unconditional love look like? I'm just being simple, okay? And then how do we embed it in the culture of this organization? And yes, on the surface, people may look at you like you've lost your mind. This is a workplace. We don't talk about love. And, we don't talk about faith. We don't talk about family. We don't talk about fitness. We don't talk about fun. And yes, we do talk about finance, but only as it relates to the organization. I'm saying break that model. I'm saying literally throw it out the window. I'm saying turn the organization upside down. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but yes, now we are uncomfortable all over the planet and not just in the United States. We've been uncomfortable for many, 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 many years. And we're even more uncomfortable because of the state of affairs due to the pandemic. But whether it's a pandemic, whether it's an economic crisis, whether it's a housing crisis, whether it's whatever it is, a political crisis, we have been uncomfortable. So this is not new to us. So the question is, how do we use a state of discomfort? How do we use it to build something that is powerful? How do we build an environment that is strongly influenced, that its basic core tenets are built out of unconditional love? And so respect, collaboration, integrity, accountability, you can go on. There's so many different values that you could say unconditional love directly aligns with. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not talking about kumbaya moments that happen once a month or once every year. I am talking about literally moment to moment. You walk through, you experience, whether it's online because you're working remotely or that's the nature of your business now, you experience that and the intensity. And it inspires, it motivates, it rejuvenates you. In that kind of environment, what happens? You're able to get not only your basic needs met, which is being honored. We all want to be honored. I don't care what people say. Oh, I don't want people to notice me. I was that person. I was that a staunch introvert. Don't notice me. Let me just get my work done. And I want to exceed expectations. But that's a private conversation I have with myself. And I'm glad it contributes to the organization. But don't talk to me. Okay. No, it wasn't that great. But some of us are. What else does this environment does? It enables us to dream bigger, big. It enables us to contribute in a way that's much more profound. It honors our capacity. And we get to grow and learn in ways that we didn't even know was possible because the environment is built that way, meaning that the core vision, the core set of values, that mission that drives, that demonstrates the purpose, that eliminates the purpose, the strategies that are used, it's all about honoring that. It literally leads to what? Mental health. And guess what? Reduce stress. There's too much stress in our work environment, especially throughout the United States. It's part of our history. And my hope was, if anything, when it came to the pandemic, with all of its horrors and the fears that it instilled, my hope and the loving hope that I had was that we wouldn't redo or go back to where we were before, working 24/7, thinking that that was life, and not having any time to just enjoy the fact that we're alive. We have loved ones that we could actually travel and observe and contribute. Can you imagine living in a loving work environment where you get to experience great fulfillment, knowing that your effort makes a positive difference? Your mental well being is so remarkable. We already know from research, and I have a colleague that was an oncologist, and her research found over and over again that the biggest reason why people experience dis-ease was because of stress. And that dis-ease led to cancer and other kinds of physical ailments. If we eliminate that from the workplace, or we significantly reduce it at least, and then begin to build and reinforce and expand and learn how to emphasize, honor a culture where people feel good. They're still excitable. They're still excited. They're still in their own wired way of being, and yet they know they're honored. So physically, they're better off. Less health issues. What's associated with people feeling good, showing up to work, taking care of business, wherever they're doing it, in the workplace, remotely. It's a sense of well-being and being appreciated. And what else does it do? It gives us more time to reflect, able to give to the folks we want to give to, family, friends, people we don't even know, strangers, because we're philanthropic. And many of us are philanthropic. We're not experiencing the level of philanthropy through our own efforts because we're exhausted, tired. We want to be of greater service, but we haven't even been a great service to ourselves. And that's what we're talking about. So, what else happens in a loving environment? Everyone is encouraged to engage in a growth mindset. What happens there? You're learning. You're learning. You're learning even more about your untapped potential. Now it's being tapped. You're giving and receiving because you can. And it's in sync. You're inspiring and being inspired by others. You're using failures as a means to learn and enhance existing conditions. You're using setbacks as a comeback to grow, become smarter and better. I'm looking at this comments. Thank you so much, Tomoko. I feel honored that you and so many are here. And thank you, Erica. It's good to see you through the camera, feel you more importantly. Nicole, I agree, would decrease the level of stress and anxiety among staff. You got it, Nicole. Why? Why do we create conditions that are artificial to the human need? Why? Because someone said this is the way you do it in business? We've been programmed. You don't talk about certain things. You don't go in certain spaces. Well, yeah, there are reasons why we have certain legal or policy mandates. And the question is, do they serve us best now? And how do we shift or make or create new ones that actually do honor us? So what we're talking about here is part of what we call our branding. We believe it's about living now, not when you're 65 and you're able to retire, or if the government's 7 now, you're able to retire. No, live now. You're 20, you're 18, you're 30, you're 45, you're 55, you're 62, whatever your age, live now. You're 90. You know better than a lot of us the importance of living now, whenever, wherever we're at, because we have a finite amount of time. We don't know if it's 40 years. We don't know if it's 120 years. We don't know. We know what the Bible says. We know a little bit about what the Quran says. Some of us more than others. We know what the Torah says. We know what about all these different spiritual and philosophical texts tells a lot of things. The key thing is live now, don't wait. And leverage one another, leverage the best, and embed love in that process. Fundamentally, my goodness, those are the signatures, solutions that we need to live now, to leverage. You don't have to know everything. You have strengths. You have capabilities. Leverage those who have the expertise in areas that you don't have the expertise and yet you need. Because some weaknesses are just that. They're irrelevant to your well-being. You don't need to strengthen all aspects of yourself. You need to strengthen the aspects that are important to you, that get you to that vision that you want to be at. And where you have gaps, leverage others. Others with expertise, others with a comparable set of values that will complement you. Emphasis on complementing you as you continue to grow. And make certain that at the fundamental aspect of all of that engagement, whether it's with someone else's in business or your own business, is love. Oh my goodness, what happens? So what's happening right now? Across the United States, it depends upon what you're reading, whether it's Forbes, whether it is the New York Times or a Washington Post or whatever, in the United States and I'm sure across the planet, different journalists are writing about the folks who are not going back to the workplace or who are leaving or who are choosing to create their own businesses. And the numbers are in the millions in the US alone. And depending upon what you read, it's either 28 million or it's over 30 million. Just in September alone in the US, it was 4 million, but that number is complicated. But it really doesn't matter what the actual number is. The reality is among the following. People are annoyed. They're highly stressed. Not only because of the pandemic, but because of the legacy experiences in the workplace. They're frustrated by low wages and a lack of future growth. They don't see where they can grow. They're just considered to be cogs in a wheel, creating widgets or whatever, but not honored as full human beings. And so many of them have decided to quit. I don't think they're quitting fully. They're not quitting life, but too many decided to quit. So there's a big gap in terms of the workplace. Insufficient numbers to fill the openings that are there. And then, of course, employers are being highly selective that if there's more of the folks leaving the workplace, they will have to be even less selective. So the point is, why are they doing this? Not only because of what I just said, there's definitely a hot job market, but many mothers have chosen their children over working 24/7. Good for them. Many fathers have chosen their children over working 24/7. Good for them. Many people are choosing their lives, their health, their well-being over just being stressed out working 24/7. Great for all of them. The question is, where are they moving? Hopefully, each one of us has a vision for our life, and we're moving towards that vision. And we can see how different employers are transforming the nature of their workplace in order to honor vision. There are some people who really want to work and want to work for a stellar employer. And I have experienced colleagues, family members, friends who absolutely love working where they work. They're in the minority, unfortunately. And there's too many that loved initially, got burned out, and were not honored, were just thrown away like they were not important. You don't have to experience that. In fact, even if you're among the many who are still, the millions who are still in the workplace, or the billions across the planet who are still in the workplace, you get to, at your level, shift it, shift it, shift it. in such a way where you're modeling unconditional love, that respect, that appreciation, that integrity, that honoring of the other, that honoring of processes, and you're improving at the level that you can improve the nature of the organization. So before you know it, it's a transformed organization from each individual throughout the organization. It doesn't happen overnight, and yet it can. It doesn't happen overnight all often, yet it can. And how does it happen overnight? Typically, there's some emotional charge, something happens that's devastating, like pandemic. Hopefully, that won't be the reason. Or there's a decision among the leadership, all the leadership, or at least the majority of the leadership, to say, we can do this. We get to honor ourselves too. We have to do the heavy lifting ourselves in order for it to be believable and sustainable. And then we leverage the teams of individuals with whom we work, whether it's just 10 individuals or whether it's hundreds of thousands of individuals across the planet. We leverage them to get us in a better place. We don't need to continue this cycle where people are concerned about their children not having childcare. We don't need to continue this cycle where people are having to work 4, 5, or 6 jobs because they can't have ends meet. There's no reason for that. Literally, there's enough assets on this planet to take care of everyone. We know that. Yes, even economists know that, who look at the numbers, run the numbers, look at the assets. And let me tell you something. As something the insightful know. Insightful, whether they're extremely rich in terms of money or wealthy because they got the wealth equation taken care of, faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun, or those who are just learning through experience and intuiting. And that is that literally we're in the act of creating all day long. We want something to serve greater good, we can create it. In fact, everything on this planet has been created based upon the mind, feeling, based upon the taking of action on a consistent basis. We create so much. We can create more. We know how to clean up nonsense. We know how to create remarkable beauty and extraordinary assets. We know how to destroy and we know how to create. And I encourage us to leverage our creative capacity to address that unconditional love factor that should be replete. I ask the question, can you visualize your workplace, what it would look like? And love permeates the culture. I want you to think about that. And thank you, Lynn. I'm so glad you're here. It took years and restructuring, but I'm blessed to work in a mostly loving environment, and it makes a huge difference. And you're 100% right. And I know you created that with your team. You're leading that way. And that's not by accident. And so whether it takes years or whether it happens in an instant, we are the arbiter of the conditions within which we work. We're creating them all day long. Even if we try to blame it on someone else, there's always personal responsibility because we chose to be in that environment. I remember being challenged, oh my goodness, throughout my career. And it was almost like the universe was saying, okay, it's time for you to leave this one because this one's gone a little bit crazy. And then I go on to the next one and have a lovely experience, contributing, thinking I'm doing a good thing, not knowing what I don't know, learning, growing, making mistakes and failing and creating anew and succeeding with people, through people, never alone, can't do it alone, need people, leverage, 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 only to find out there's always people who don't understand that paradigm. And so we have to help them, bring them along, only if they're open. Because some people don't want that. Let's be very clear. Some people are at their core, maybe they're suffering. Maybe they bought into this notion that you can only have if other people don't have. There are some people who believe there's finite resources. There are not enough people who demonstrate that there's enough for everyone. And frankly, folks, there is enough for everyone. We're responsible for creating that. So reflect on the many means, okay? Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to feel truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. Well, the only way to great work is to love what you do. That so says Steve Jobs, and that quote is used a lot. Uh, Choose a job you love, and you will never have to work a day in your life. Who was that? Confucius and other people. To be successful, the first thing to do is to fall in love with your work. Sister Mary Loretta. Love and work and love, that is all there is. Sigmund Freud. If you work at love, you'll find love at work. Peter Jackson. Working hard for something we don't care about, I call stress. Simon Sinek. He says working hard for something we love is called passion. There's so many means out there. So what might a culture of love in the workplace look like? A business you own, you lead, and or you support. Distinguished by an extraordinary yet simple set of lived work conditions, including market increases in employee productivity, exceeding benchmarks and industry standards, magnified employees, and the people and the businesses served by that employer, engineering lifelong value for that business. It's amazing to talk to people and they think about a business they work for and say, oh my God, I should have never left there because it was just perfect. I said, well, what was perfect about it? And they describe everything that you would describe when you're talking about unconditional love. I said, oh, so that was a loving workplace, wasn't it? Yeah, I never thought about it that way. Rejuvenating vibration levels throughout the organization, lifting the spirits of everyone, providing more energy for each to continuously engage, sustain activity, make major breakthroughs. More like-minded and heartfelt individuals attracted to complement that deep thinking, remarkable activity, and wonderful feelings established by that love culture or the love culture of that business. Imprinting at the deepest level, the power of love to build expansive spaces of joy, of rewards, of fulfillment in personal and professional ways, or the infusion of joy, fun, innovation, and challenges, leveraging those to build an ever growing and cohesive culture while exceeding measurable goals. People show up. I got an idea. Oh, let's hear it. I got another idea. Let's hear it. Okay, let's see. How do we take these two ideas and create something better? That's what comes from the unconditional engagement of multiple geniuses. And let me tell you, at our core, we all have some level of genius. And I know people say, well, if everyone has genius, and that nullifies the notion of genius. It's like if everyone is special, then that nullifies the nature of special. No, doesn't. I want you to rethink. It's all about perspective. One of your mental tools is perspective. I want you to rethink some of the things that we're told are. Such a business with those kinds of things that I just described is set apart because of its spillover effects. And can you imagine their studies? And I should have looked for one of the books years ago about a business that either creates or is part of an existing industry, does something remarkably different. And because of that difference and its profound effect in terms of the outcomes of the organization that are desired and desired by the industry as a whole, it literally shifts the industry, or for that matter, creates a brand new industry. And before you know it, you've got a ubiquitous scene in a particular community, a particular region, and potentially a country that people want to model. Can you imagine a business taking on that kind of leadership, not even knowing that that would be the spillover effect? Wow. Where the professionals seek to model the outcomes because of the apparent benefits, honoring diverse individuals, professionals, communities, regions, and all being able to experience more of what we call the wealth equation. Here at Lead Live, we call the wealth equation faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. And you're not wealthy from our perspective unless you have all five. Not just finance, not just family, not just faith. You have to have all five. You're really wealthy. We know too many people on this planet who are absolutely loaded with money, loaded with faith, or loaded with family, or loaded with fun, or they are just fit. They don't have the others. They're not fully wealthy or as wealthy as they could be. And the nature of the culture, we would say we would want the culture to embed that for everyone. And that's the nature of the culture that I work with. I am so honored. I work with I work within the financial services industry. I do other things too, but that's my primary lived experience and contribution. In addition, my team and I, we work for a remarkable leadership organization. It's just based in Silicon Valley, and yet is replete throughout the country and in Canada, and is building up in other parts of the world, including Puerto Rico. The point, or in South America, the point that I'm making is that not only can you build this, you can sustain it, where people are drawn to the organization because they want to experience all aspects of their lives being magnified. But what's a precondition for a leader to do that? We call it the ABCs. And we call it the ABCs of financial freedom, but really it's for freedom, period. And that's what we're talking about. A level of freedom that you cannot take away from folks. We talk about awareness and action. We talk about burning desire. We talk about commitment and clarity. Okay. And we also talk about using the mental tools to shift the very nature of our thinking, our understanding at the subconscious level so that we actualize the vision that we have. We achieve the mission that we've put in place. The milestones, we've exceeded them. We've got to the mission, and now we even have to rethink the mission because the vision's so big and we've achieved the mission. Now we've got to do more. The powerful thing is that when you use these mental tools of will, of reason, of intuition, of imagination, of perception, of memory, all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, and if you're using them every single day in your reading, in your activity, in your engagement, all of a sudden you realize, my goodness, the power of my mind is off the charts. And so when I don't care if it's Elon Musk or someone else talk about, when they were a child, their mind was always going on. Well, you'll find that your whole body will be vibrating. It's like, oh my God, there's more to do. There's more to do. And you'll rest and you'll enjoy. You go deep and deeper. And then when you get up, you'll be ready in charge. It is powerful. When you give yourself the gift of building your capacity and then leveraging the environment, your own place of work that you've created, whether it's your business that you built with others, or whether it's someone else's business that you're part of fortifying and magnifying, oh my God, the rest of your life takes off. I can't articulate well with words. I like to believe I have some gift of work with words. That success is no accident. I want you to remember that. Success is no accident. Remember the iceberg that we showed before with Dr. Quinde? And you see what people see. People see this magnificent you. You've accomplished A, B, C, and D, whatever it is. And they're like, oh my God, I want to be like you. And you're like, well, you don't even know what I dealt with. I dealt with setbacks, failures, heartbreaks, sacrifice. I took risk. I was working late night or whatever. And what they see is this beautiful tip of the iceberg. We want you to know that's real. But we want you to know that when you have a burning desire, when you have that vision so clear, you will walk through those fears, the terror barrier, the setbacks, etc., and you will walk through them with confidence. And people will wonder, why are you still so calm? Because you got it. You know that the vision is real. You know that you've already actualized it in your mind. You've imagined it, you've seen it, you've been there. You're just taking the action to manifest it, to have it manifest in your presence or in other people's presence, because you've already imagined it. So success is no accident. It takes hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love. That's what we're talking about. Love. Love. When you love you, all of a sudden you're going to drink water that's nutritional, not just any water, not just bottled water. You're going to make certain that water has the nutrients you need. You're going to pay attention. And you're like, where'd she go for water? Same thing with food. You're going to make certain that you have food that is from great soil to the degree that you can assure it. If you're not growing it yourself, you're getting it from a local farmer, or you're getting it from a place where they're guaranteeing that it's organic. You are going to make certain the sounds, the voices, the ideas, the understandings that go into your head from any source, medium, and to yourself are edifying your spirit. Someone calls you a name and you think it's funny and it's a derogatory term, shift, stop it, shift, move into a new paradigm where that's no longer acceptable. Because it doesn't matter if it's funny. When you accept it as a joke, you're telling the subconscious mind that's who you are. And I'm here to remind you that you're much greater than anything that's negative. The nature of your being here is quite awesome. And you get to fully illuminate that in the way that you choose to. So we want you here at Lead Live to remember you get to experience success. No success is an accident. People say, oh, you were just lucky. Okay, cool. And Pele, the extraordinary soccer player, he's the one that said success is no accident. He said it's hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you're doing or learning to do. And Nicholas Sparks says the best kind of love awakens the soul and makes us reach for more that plants the fire in our hearts and brings peace to our minds. Wow. Love. We know from research, folks, this is not just Dr. Elnora Webb giving you a perspective, or for my nieces and nephews and godchildren out there, Aunt Tina or Godmommy Tina, or brothers, siblings, sisters, Sis Tina. This is not just about me giving you my personal perspective, although it definitely is. And it's my professional perspective. It's my lived perspective. It is also based upon research, whether it's Harvard studies or other studies. It says that employees who felt they worked in a loving, caring culture reported higher levels of satisfaction in team. There's a lot of studies, increasingly so, on love in the workplace. Why? I'm so pleased that that's the case. I think it's people are realizing, why are we here? At least I like to hope that that's what's happening. Why are we here? And where do we spend the vast majority of our time? Pre-COVID, a significant portion of us on this planet spent most of our time at work. However we got there as adults. And and you mean most of our environments are not loving environments? Somebody may say, I didn't say that. But are all of our environments loving environments? We're there all the time. We're there a significant portion of the time, except for those who chose to leave because it wasn't serving them. Characteristics of culture that promote love. First of all, you are learning. You're learning how to do it. You're sharing how to do it. You're using symbols. You're integrating it in systems and practices. You're making it dynamic where initially it may just be a series of habits that, because you've never done it before, that you have to install at the subconscious level. It's going to take no less than 60 days. People say 21 days for, I say no less than 60 days. You skip a day, you start all over. Make it ubiquitous. And the values, post those values in a beautiful design all over the place. If you're online all the time, have it in the background. Make it very clear on the website, etc., what you're all about that has to do with unconditional love. And you don't even have to use the word unconditional love. People will know it when they feel it. They'll know it when they see it. They know it when they hear it. They know it when you get my point. Greet your colleagues, greet your employees every time you see them. Allow that powerful, positive predisposition. And if you don't have a predisposition that's positive, get one. Doesn't mean you smile all the time. You don't have to be like some of us. You are you, but you allow your positive energy, that focus, your assumptions to drive your behavior. You write notes of appreciation. You get out the way. Yes, you can be in front of people, but you could also be on the side of colleagues. You could be in the back. You can give them more space. It's okay. It's not a big deal. You don't lose anything. In fact, you may gain much more. You protect your environment for everyone, not just for yourself. Leverage employees to define the love culture. I said that earlier on. Why? Because it gives them an opportunity to initiate change, to be part of it. And when they are part of it, when we're part of something, we own it. Even if we don't want to own it, we have to be accountable. We said that's what we want, we own it. And then it opens one up, encourages them to do more in terms of voicing opinions and moving and pursuing and ensuring the illumination of the values that they themselves created. More than just satisfaction. It's much more powerful than that. Let people know how you value them. Be flexible. Create opportunities. Make time for fun, for just relaxing, reading. Create spaces. If you're back in the workplace, a physical space, create spaces for people to sit down and read a book. Or if they need to go to a room and cool out for 15 minutes and sleep, get a quick nap, create that. Just transform the environment. Yes, I know some large corporations have done that. And one could argue, and some of the folks who work there argue, it's to keep people working 24/7. It's not about valuing people. But you can change those and make it more transparent that you value everybody. Show trust. Give appreciation publicly. Oh my goodness, in different ways. Yes, it may feel contrived initially, but make certain appreciation is directly tied to what one did. It's not fluff. It's powerful. It's honoring people's achievements, whatever they happen to be. And people are different. Levels of achievement will be qualitatively different. That doesn't mean they're any less. And do other little things that matter and big things that matter, whatever it is. I happen to be part of a team, and I am honored to say Pinnacle Elite, literally, our leaders, Sandra and Eric Olson, or Eric and Sandra Olson, they literally set aside millions of their dollars and they invest in the lot of us to go all over the planet for vacations, to come together, and whether it's online or in person, in a safe environment or safe environments, and study and go deep, to reflect, to give, to learn, to grow, to praise, to encourage self-care, physical, emotional, spiritual, to demonstrate, different perspectives, to engage in the kind of interaction that edifies the very essence of each being. Can you imagine working in an environment where that's the common currency? That's what we're encouraging. And then all of a sudden, the more of us, whether we get a virus or not, because we're already healthy, we're less likely to die from it. But if we're already stressed and we've got various diseases, we're likely to be impacted in more profound ways and may not survive. So it's not just about health, and yet it is at the core. It starts and it ends with mental health, physical health, spiritual health, so many kinds of health, family health, faith health, financial health, health. If you don't show appreciation to those who deserve it, they will stop doing things you appreciate. Positive attitudes, positive actions. That's what we're talking about in the workplace. Knowing everyone personally, offering help whenever possible, being flexible, creating opportunities, making time for fun, appreciating people publicly, showing trust, be willing to let them go. Okay? People don't want to lose best employees. Let them go. In fact, honor them and then cultivate the next generation. Thank you, Deepak. He's one of the contributors to one of the various sources that I read. And he reminds us of the importance of leading with kindness, making everyone feel like, know that they are somebody, and always learning continuously in order to make a difference, modeling the importance of that for everyone in the organization. What would love smell like? Or what does it smell like to you? What does it sound like? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Yes, I said smell. I said sound. I said look. We typically say feel. I want you to attend to all of your senses and think about when you feel most love, self-love, love from another or others, or an environment. You feel it. It's replete. What is that? Can you imagine love being the condition and the healing spirit so profound that it allows us to forgive? Love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles, leaps fences, penetrates walls to arrive at its destination full of hope. If you have only one smile in you, give it to the people you love. Dr. Maya Angelou. She said all those things. I love it. A healing spirit. What did Dalai Lama and the late Bishop Desmond Tutu share in their book of joy? Love. What did Bell Hooks, another one of our greats who transitioned recently, what did she say? She said, the practice of love is the most powerful antidote to the politics of domination. Yes, LinkedIn user, health is wealth. Yes. Yeah. So whether you're a Buddhist, you're Christian, you're an atheist, you're Taoist, you're Muslim, you practice Jewish faith, or many, many other faiths on the planet, there are many, countless. Or whether you highly philosophical about a particular area at the core, I'm assuming that love is the basis of so much. Without love, I don't want to fill in that gap. Have you imagined unconditional love? Have you ever imagined unconditional love being experienced by everyone now or at the same time for a sustained period of time? Have you imagined that? Where it is just ubiquitous. And it literally has shifted the nature of movies that we see. And you get to imagine what that might look like. Still, great action, great drama, great, but it shifts all the content. It inspires us to know, to ends that we can't even imagine right now. It changes the nature of songs. It brings back some of the songs or illuminates the existing songs that are powerfully embedded in our consciousness that we take for granted that reminds us of love. Wow. You think of all corporate boardrooms, for those of you who've been in them, witness some really interesting things, or IT departments, or faculty gatherings, or um, uh, maintenance sessions, meetings, conversations. Wow. Can you imagine the different professionals, engineers, scientists, doctors, nurses, bus drivers, school drivers? Can you imagine them waking up, knowing what they're going to experience, and it's a culture of unconditional love? Can you imagine that those with whom you work, whether you report to them or they report to you, wired to seek forgiveness? Or you imagine yourself asking for forgiveness of self because of anything that ensures you get to a healthier space. Hmm. I'm going to read a last statement by Dr. Maya Angelou. She's not the only person who's written about love. And yet, I had the honor of meeting her many years ago. And many of us have heard her voice. And I found her to be, and still do, her spirit to be extraordinarily reflective of love. Through all the challenges, opportunities, failures, successes, awesome contributions, this woman demonstrated love. We write for the same reason that we talk, that we walk, that we climb mountains or swim oceans, because we can. We have some impulse within us that make us want to explain ourselves to other human beings. That's why we paint. That's why we dare to love someone, because we have the impulse to explain who we are. Wow. Hmm. We dare to love because we have the impulse to explain who we are. Another reminder that the essence of who we are, from my humble perspective, is love. What better way to honor each human being on this planet than to ensure that it's ubiquitous in all of our systems, all of our practices? So we just take it for granted. It's the common currency of language, of activity, of experiencing life itself. Always in community, in partnership, in celebration. Please continue to do what edifies you. Be safe during the balance of this, as we call it, as humans calls it, the end of a calendar year. As we move into a new calendar year, we encourage you here to think big, to feel big, to do big. Do big because you can. And the biggest that you can do is to love unconditionally. We honor you. We love you. We're deeply appreciative that you pay forward the greatness you are. Why don't?